Hello, my name is Adam and welcome back to my channel where I make a tabletop role-playing game from scratch on camera, and in this episode we will make our first mini-boss who can't be killed. Before we start today's episode, I just want to remind you of the 96 likes. Before I started this project with Explorers RPG, I've been using this book to just note down different stuff that is role-playing related. And I think this will be fun and interesting for world builders, role players, and, well, anyone. So 96 likes and I will make a video where I go through the 96 pages that I have here. And while you're down there, please press the subscribe button, but let's go on to the video. Now, we're continuing to design the lower dungeons today, which is one room amongst the many in our ever-expanding castle project. Dungeons, back in the day, were used to contain political and religious captives and torture them for information or just fun, I guess. They didn't have prisons and sentencing for criminals as we have today. That wasn't before the very late medieval age. Before that, you either paid money, were executed, or some other direct form of punishment for your crime. Speaking of executions, most, if not all dungeons had an executioner who, well, executed people after torturing them. So I thought, who would best serve the mini-boss for the lower dungeon? Well, an executioner, of course. The executioner is a ghost that has been corrupted by the Barsak. I assume you know what the Barsak is, and if you don't, you should watch part 1. In my mind, and something I briefly touched on in episode 2, is that the castle is built upon the Tomb of the Undying. Not quite sure what that is yet, but I want it to be the corrupting force in the castle. It's sealed underground somewhere in the overworld, but the dark energies are seeping out through the Barsak and corrupting everything within it. I have no details on this at all, but I still imagine that the executioner, the human version, was somehow trapped in the Barsak at some point, maybe during an uprising or something. Trapped in the ever-present nothingness of the Barsak, the executioner dies and his spirit gets corrupted and becomes a raging, bloodthirsty ghost that would kill every living creature it encounters. The executioner also has an executioner sword. Shadowversity has a great video about the executioner sword, so go check it out if you want a detailed breakdown of it. The short explanation is that the executioner sword is a sword dedicated to chopping heads off. It has no tip, is very heavy, and is often engraved with holy or judicial symbols. Now, executioner swords weren't invented before the 1500s, or more precisely, they didn't need a specific sword for chopping heads off when a regular axe did the work just fine. This poses a small problem since I'm aiming for more 13th century technology, but I think the executioner sword is too cool to let it slide. Plus, it gives the players a cool magic weapon when they finally manage to defeat the executioner. The executioner is relentless. It attacks whoever they see, aiming for the head. That's actually why I chose the arches in the previous episode to be made out of wood logs. The sword won't be able to ruin the arch even with the unnatural strength of the executioner. Plus, the sword could get lodged in the wood, which gives the players an opportunity to strike or escape. This actually poses a big question for me. I've been trying to figure out how to defeat this guy. I want it so that if the party goes head to head with the executioner, they'll be killed. So how can you defeat him? I'm really stuck on ideas here, so leave a comment down below on possible methods of defeating him. Now let's go on to designing the lower dungeons itself. The lower dungeons will need a large open area to house all the captives. I don't have to have walls or locks or anything because the captives will all be locked in the barsack, which I will show later. In addition to this, I would want to have a guard room, a storage room, a torture chamber, and of course, oubliettes. An oubliette is a small holding cell. It's usually claustrophobically small. So small that you can't sit and you can't stand. With no windows, no doors, just a trapdoor in the ceiling. Yeah, it's bad. Fun fact, the word dungeon is actually the same as oubliette. Oubliette is French and dungeon is the English equivalent. But because of pop culture, the word dungeon has taken more the meaning of medieval underground prison, while oubliette has retained the original meaning. So let's go over this place. You start in the entrance, which is just a regular barred door. Well, an overgrown and rotten barred door. This is a ruined castle after all. Then you go over here, this is the entrance. Then you go over here to the guards room with some beds and some chairs and tables and stuff. Over here you have the storage, and that here is another barred door, which leads you over to the holding cells here. Each of these are arches, as I explained here. These are the arches that are here. And whenever you then insert the arch key in any of these, you open up the portal over to one of these holding cells in the barsack. And the same goes for the oubliettes, which are here. So you open up the portal to the oubliette here, and then you can dump prisoners down into here. And yeah, that's how this works. Over here you have the torture room with some torture devices. I'm not really good at torture devices, so I don't know much about them. And yeah, that's it. Basically what happens is that the guards, they hang out here, and then whenever they need to feed the prisoners or do something else, they walk over to prisoner number 1 here. They open up the arch by using the arch key on this side of the door, which opens up the portal to this room, and they can do it on the other side of the door right here and open up this room, and then continue on to do this on all of these. As you can see, it's very space efficient here. All of these are the doors to all of these rooms, so yeah, I think it's a smart way of doing things. Now, with the layout done, I want to fill this with content. And I'm out of ideas here. I can make a list of potential things to add in, but I'm not quite sure yet what to place and where to place it. Firstly, the arch key should be somewhere in the dungeon. It makes it so that the players can figure out how it works, and they might be able to use the key to trap or defeat the executioner, or wake him from his slumbers. Secondly, I want to have haunting captives, maybe even headless haunting captives, who, when unleashed, whatever that means, will attack the executioner. This might be a fun way to defeat him as well. Thirdly, a logbook, which details all the prisoners and which cells they are in. This is mostly to tell the players that this is a dungeon. I also want the executioner to have a diary where he or she describes the prisoners and the torture in gleeful detail, just so that the players have something interesting to read. But I don't think the diary should be in the dungeon, but rather a clue that would lead the players to the dungeon. Lastly, it's rather fitting to have some sort of item to fetch for the wandering trader, like the manacles of a tortured captive or the dried bloods off of a torture device. Well, it's a small list, but I think that's it for the video. The lower dungeons is done, or partly done. I still need to figure out all the clues for the arch key. Still needs to figure out how to defeat the executioner, and still need to fill out the lower dungeon with some more fun content. But I'll leave that to you guys. Comment down below some content you think I'm missing here, and I'll get back to this in a later video. And of course, hit the like button and subscribe for more, and don't forget to share this with your GM. They'll probably like it.